Make this quick. Let's see if we can accelerate this a little bit. Dual Kodiak 3s, dual Black Widows. I have a feeling there's going to be some DACA coming out of Team 1. Dual Jenner 2C, SRMs, Blackjack 3, and a Hunchback 2C for ISRC. On Eben Keshik, Timberwolf, dual Kodiak 3, Timberwolf, dual Jenner 2C missile variant, Ice Ferret. Whoa! What the? Okay. And a Stormcrow. So that is the decks. Let's launch and take a look. Ice Ferret, huh? Small Pulse Ice Ferret, maybe playing the cap deck. Eben Keshik, I think, has been historically playing a lot of Brawl. So I find it a little odd that they've opted for the Ice Ferret. Tells me maybe they're going to slow it down a little bit. Do a little bit of a cap strat, but we'll have to see what they choose. Let's take a look at some of these mechs. Black Widow, DACA, DACA, DACA. DACA. So they're going to go right up here, right off the bat, and they're going to trade with Elf Lance, which is right here. So Alpha the Alpha, very heavy firing power. On the other side, though, what do these guys got? DACA, 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 DACA. So we're going to have ourselves a firefight. I want to see where that Ice Ferret is, though. Where is he hiding? Hunchback and Blackjack. So... alright, well, let's take a look. DACA to DACA. Off we go. There was a firefight. Moving DACA army for Eben Keshik coming right up there, and it looks like ISRC is not going to have any of that. They are falling back into their secondary position, setting up to receive. So Eben Keshik gets across the gap relatively unscathed. That's pretty big. Now, it all comes down to how they maneuver in this next portion. If they just push over right away, oh boy, we got ourselves a light fight. That Ice Ferret and those two lights being ghosted, they're coming around hard. I think the strat is they're going to come in on the backfield of ISRC, and they are there. Here we go. We got that initial charge. First mech for Eben Keshik. That Kodiak has gone down. Heavy firepower coming in to receive, but those lights are in the backfield trying to work down Shield Wolf in that Kodiak 3. They've got his back turned, but two mechs now have fallen for Eben Keshik, but they have taken out a Black Widow and a Kodiak 3. This is close so far, and we've reached full-on brawl. Another ISRC mech has fallen. Eben Keshik has brought that brawl hard. Next focus target appears to be that Timberwolf. 35%. He is lagged, but still has a lot of his weapons. And Durfee in that Jenner 2C trying to take him down. He finally does fall, and it is 3 dead on both sides, but bad overheat by that Jenner 2C. Danatonium in the Kodiak 3 doing whatever he can, but he is completely surrounded. 38% should be going down any minute now, but he's putting fantastic damage down on that Ice Ferret before going down. Durfee is still alive with that leg Jenner 2C, putting out whatever he can. It is 4 mechs to 4 mechs. This is incredibly close. Gigawatts in that Timberwolf, down to 28%, being shot in the butt by Navid in that Jenner 2C. He goes down 3-all, and this is incredibly close. That leg Jenner 2C finally getting a little bit of attention on him. He's been tossing SRMs left and right, and it looks like he is finally going to be taken down here. But making a last stand, center torso is wide open. They just can't take him down. ISRC has 2 mechs that are still very hurt, but they are still alive. This Jenner will not die. He will not die. I don't know if he's out of ammo now. I think he's out of ammo now. So they have split off onto this Blackjack 3. Looks like they're going to work him down, but ISRC is not looking too good. We'll see if that ammo can sustain for Eben Keshik, but looks like Durfee still had some ammunition left. He finally goes down, and the last one left is that Jenner 2C, Navid A1. He is the final mech remaining for ISRC. That was incredibly close. Eben Keshik bringing a very nice backstab strategy with their Ice Ferret and their lights. Coming in on the backside of ISRC, the initial charge was pretty rough for Eben Keshik. Those initial Kodiaks took some big beating. Massive beating on that initial charge. But those lights and the Ice Ferret coming in on the backside definitely doing some work. And drop 1 goes in favor of Eben Keshik. Very well played. That was a hell of a fight. That got my voice going a little bit there. Taking a quick look at the damages. 664 coming out of Leica Boss in that Jenner 2C. 573 coming out of the Stormcrow. 366 out of that other Jenner 2C. Initial Kodiak on the charge, 86 damage. Pretty brutal. But he did his job tanking, that's for sure. I almost wish he brought a Spirit Bear instead or something like that, right? But 492 out of that Timberwolf, also very respectable. But damages on the ISRC side, fantastic. It was just a really nice sneak attack. Those backstabs by those lights were fantastic. So we're going to be heading into our second drop. ISRC needs to come up with a win here. I have no doubt in my mind they're going to switch sides. We'll see which side they pick. But, boy, let's head back to the bracket screen. I'm going to get these teams rolling here, and let's see here. Hold on. We're going to see what side they pick so they can get prepared and drop again. Looks like they're staying with the same side. ISRC is staying with Team 1. We're going to wait for both teams to ready up, so we might not even have to go back to the break screen. I think that these guys are going to just drop right back into this one. So ISRC has something to prove here. They want to do it. So quick look at the map while they get readied up here. Initial movement, Alpha to Alpha, relatively unscathed. Fantastic. Setting up in that D5 region. They set their Ice Ferret, and I want to say they have... I know they had a split lance, but either way, bottom line, they had the guys come up here, swing around back into D6, then an initial charge over. Majority of the mechs here set up in D6. And it was just a really good pincer maneuver by Eben Keshik. Fantastic work. But both teams are about to get readied up. We'll be getting right back into this one. So I don't know if that sneak attack's going to work for Eben Keshik this time if they try it again. ISRC sticking with the same side. We'll have to see. That was a very slick maneuver, I gotta say, and it worked. And the fact is they were made. They were being chased by the enemy lights. So ISRC knew they were coming. I think they were hoping their lights would be able to handle it. But Eben Keshik just ran right through those lights, stabbed into the backfield, and just started doing some fantastic work. I do agree. I'm watching chat right now, and I do kind of agree with what some of the guys are saying. Is it would have been nice if the lights got in there first and did some work before Alpha Lance started their charge. Those Kodiaks, if those Kodiaks were able to stay alive longer by allowing the lights to scrum it a little bit, they could have definitely done a little bit of a cleaner push and didn't just drop right away like he did. And I agree with that. I think that's a valid assessment that Alpha Lance could have slowed down the push just a little bit, allow the Ice Ferret and stuff to get in there. Perhaps because the Ice Ferret and the Jenners were being engaged, they might have thought that they needed to have a little bit more urgency on the Alpha push so they didn't just get wiped off the field. But either way, let's get in there and go. Looks like no changes have been made on the decks here, so let's take a look. Alright, so both sides on the same side as before. I'm wondering if ISRC is going to make a little bit more of an alpha-to-alpha presence here instead of just backing up right away like they did. We'll have to see. I want to see what the build is. So they didn't have a Charlie Lance at all. They all started in Bravo. 5 small pulse lasers, SRMs, SRMs. So they had streaks on the Stormcrow with a flamer. So they did. I want to say they're doing it again, but let's see Alpha to Alpha. Here comes that firefight. Initial target up there, Black Widow getting pelted, but he ducks behind cover wisely. Looks like, once again, Evan Keshik doing, well, this is relatively easy. That initial Black Widow took a majority of those hits, but just a little bit of an exchange. But I think that they want to handle this light push again. They're executing it a second time, but this time being intercepted by that streak boat. Let's see if that Stormcrow is able to get the work done there. Alpha Lance has not pushed yet. But we've got that big fight with the lights and the mediums in the backfield. Looks like a boss in that Jenner 2C took quite a bit of hits. Things not faring as well for those light mechs, but Evan Keshik's actually running along stage, and as they cross, they're getting singled out and completely wrecked down. Not going nearly as well for Evan Keshik as it did in that last one, but let's see once they get in close whether or not they're able to do anything different. 2 mechs dead for Evan Keshik. The Ice Ferret and the Jenner 2C. Stormcrow has died for ISRC, but Gigawatts in that Timber has fallen, and they're kind of going in single file now. ISRC has a very good firing line, and they are just pelting these mechs as they come through this pass. So ISRC learned from their mistake on that one, and Evan Keshik, they did change up the strat slightly, but not enough to surprise ISRC. So ISRC coming back with a very commanding win. Looks like it's going to be 8-2. There it is. So ISRC said, hey, that was a nice little strat you had there. Now I'm going to shit all over it because that was big. So a couple change-ups there for ISRC. Focusing more on the intercept of the mediums and the lights, coming in with the streak boat, the 2 Jenner 2Cs, just completely wrecking the light and medium lance for Evan Keshik, taking that threat out. And not only that, but Evan Keshik didn't come around the far corner. They actually went down stage, which allowed ISRC to turn around, handle the threat without being shot at, and then turn around again and finish Evan Keshik as they approach. So I almost wish Evan Keshik pushed the same way they did last time, except maybe delay it a second or two. But either way, ISRC definitely brought that one back, and we're going to be going right back to drop 3 again. It is a 1-1 decision. This time they didn't even switch sides. So looking at the damage, the Black Widow, 687 damage. Fantastic. 3 kills, though, for Rathnor in that Hunchback 2C. Streak Boat did 205, did ultimately go down, but that initial intercept was key, I believe, to the success of ISRC. 306 coming out of the Kodiak, but damage is relatively low across the board for EK. They never had the opportunity to shoot. They all walked stage, and I think that's what killed them. They didn't get that DACA downfield. And so they were able to handle one lance and then turn around and handle the other lance. It was an 8v4 fight, essentially, that entire match. So let's go ahead and let's go to the giveaway tool, and we'll pick the sides. So load name or add name. Separated spaces. So replace. All right, here we go. For Team 1 on Canyon Network. ISRC, Team 1. Alright, ISRC will be Team 1 on Canyon Network. So let's switch this over. So we're going to give those teams a little bit of time to prepare. And but really quick, actually, I want to show while they're preparing. Oh, that's the new Tourmaline Desert. We're gonna go to the old Tourmaline Desert. Alpha to Alpha once again. Bravo went straight up and behind yet again, getting chased down very well this time. They sent, I believe, a group up to stage and then curve around to intercept, and that was pretty slick. Alpha initial trades and then setting up in D6 yet again with the majority of them right there. Now here's the key difference. Of course, that intercept is huge, but then instead of coming around this way, Evan Keshik ran along stage and was essentially in cover the entire time. And a lot of firepower coming in like through these gaps here as they crossed. And that was pretty big because it's like 4 mechs shooting at one every time one crosses the gap. It kind of reminds me of Enemy at the Gates with the snipers and stuff. Just jumping across the gap and getting shot. So, whoa, movie reference. But well played, ISRC, identifying what the problem was on the first one, coming back strong. But now it all comes down to Canyon Network. So we're going to go back to the break screen. I'm going to let these guys set up, and we will be back shortly for Drop 3. Stick around. All right, we're right back in it, and both teams are readied up, and we will be heading into Canyon Network for Drop 3. So let's take a look at the decks here, see if they made any big changes. On the ISRC side, they are Team 1 yet again, so three times in a row. Looks like pretty much the same thing, except they have a Shadow Cat. So they brought a Shadow Cat. That's an interesting choice. We have seen it used effectively in the past, though, so we'll have to see what they do. On the other side, we do probably have that Streak Boat. They have a Spirit Bear this time. Dual Timbers, Dual Chenner 2Cs, Hunchback 2CB, that's the missile variant. We might be seeing ourselves a hard brawl coming from Eben Keshik. Let's get in and take a look. Drop 3. It's a 1-1 decision so far. Who's going to move on and who's going to drop to the elimination bracket to play against Coma in match 4, which we're not getting into tonight, unfortunately. Only 3 matches today. based on the timings and stuff, and I actually have to go to work after this, so Sunday will be a little bit easier because we don't have time commitments as bad anyways. Of course, for the Oceanic guys, they have to go to work in the morning, but all right. SRMs, LB20s, SRMs, LB10s, SRMs. So we've got ourselves a hard brawl for Evan Keshik. Can they close the gap and effectively use those weapons? So here we go. Looks like Evan Keshik heading towards the Epsilon side. Looks like they're going to go up and perhaps take a look at... Oh, they're staying mid-deck. So they're staying mid-deck. They're moving in towards that Epsilon corner. They have sent their lights up towards Theta on the initial, but initial scouting peek by Durfee, unscathed around the corner, but he saw those mechs coming in. I think they're planning for brawl, and we're seeing ISRC now starting to spread out and back up. All their mechs are starting to move back. They're getting ready to receive this push by Evan Keshik. So good scouting by Durfee, getting those initial looks. Not only that, but they've got all these guys over here at Radio Tower too. So that's going to be just constant damage coming in. But we got those lights approaching. Looks like the lights at Radio Tower are actually going to try and get in there and scrum it up with the Hunchback that's sitting back at Radio Tower. But that means that push has got to come. And here it comes, Evan Keshik with the big push, using those rock formations to close the gap. That's pretty slick. They didn't stay low. They're actually using the rocks. The lights are keeping that Hunchback at bay. And here comes the initial push. Got strikes going off, but they're all single file right now. They need to spread out and start putting these shots in. But Evan Keshik has gotten into SRM range relatively unscathed. And here we go. Initial shots going off on that Kodiak 3 Denatonium. 60%, getting wailed on by multiple targets. They have returned fire to that Spirit Bear down to 45%, but they took out the first mech. 2 quick kills against Evan Keshik after that initial charge, but they've only got the 1 Kodiak down for now. Hunchback 2C is down to 37%, but they are having issues, it looks like, getting focus on this next Kodiak. Going face-to-face, that Timberwolf, I think, is getting shot in the back by his teammate. Can't face hug like that, but they did eventually take him down. Both Kodiaks down for ISRC, but 3 mechs dead for Evan Keshik, and I think ISRC is starting to spread out enough that they're able to get a lot of shots in. This Hunchback never went down. He is down to 3 ER medium lasers, but still dealing some damage. Gigawatts in that Timber getting harassed by him. They're working on the Shadowcat as we speak, but ISRC has 3 incredibly hurt mechs, but Evan Keshik is very hurt themselves. Those streaks are just not taking out Durfee, but he finally gets pegged down by that Stormcrow. 3 mechs remaining for ISRC. And here we go, Wolfspine in that Kodiak. He's very hurt. Center Torso is 1 touch. He gets taken out. Kamikaze at Bucket Hill with the Daka. 1v1 against that Stormcrow. He takes him out. 1 mech remaining. The Timberwolf, relatively fresh, but up against 3 mechs. It's going to be a tall order for him to be able to seal the deal on this. The Black Widow is not even open CT at this point, so that Timber's got to really drop some damage very quickly. He's got the small lasers and LB10s, but his center torso is about to be opened up. He might be able to take out this Black Widow, perhaps, but then he's got 2 more mechs to go through, and he gets taken out, and ISRC takes it 8-5. Very strong presence by ISRC. That Evan Keshik brawl, that initial push looked very favorable, but they were having issues focusing down that second Kodiak. Fantastic maneuvering, fantastic brawling, but ISRC just kept their heads, and Kamikaze Viking pulling an impressive 806 damage, 4 kills in that Black Widow, holding that trigger down non-stop, just trying to help his team, and eventually was able to wear down Evan Keshik enough to lock them down. So fantastic work. That Hunchback 2C never died. Rathnor keeping those 3 ER medium lasers firing on cycle. They never finished him off. I think those the lights that went in on him, but never finished him off. Pulling 326, very respectable for being jumped on right off the gate. But goodness gracious, what a fun battle right there. So just take a quick look at the maps. We've got initial movement here. I guess we got the Radio Tower group, or 1 guy. We've got some presence up here at Bucket Hill. Everybody else setting up in this region right here, D4. Initial push by...
Woo-wee, that was exciting.
Initial push over here, and
Ah,
the light mechs actually going
well
around.
played, Wrath and ISRC boys. That was a good fight.
Think that was a good fight. Look at the damages across the board. That was a high damage
I'm going to
game.
listen into these guys. These
Yeah,
guys are
man, it
great.
was a lot of fun.
I knew your lights were going to do that. I was like,
I
come
love
on,
the
Shield, I need
sportsmanship
you
from
back up.
Oceanic.
Oh,
Yeah. You
Why
yeah,
bother
fuck,
having me talk?
those
Just listen
guys
to them.
pulling round the corner and left it distracted us from Kamikaze, who was just, oh man, he did so much damage up in that bucket hill. He really did. Oh,
All right, so they found out that I was they found out that I was listening, so that's fine. All right, so but yeah, fantastic. That push by Eben Keshik looked really good, and then just could not lock down a couple of those key mechs on that push. That was impressive, though, just from both teams being able to lock down. But that, like I said, that Bucket Hill presence from that was right here from Kamikaze, just able to do so much work. It was just very well played. So ISRC moves on, and they will be playing 228th Wild Ones in the next match here. And Eben Keshik is going to drop down to play Coma in match 4, which will be on Sunday. So I'm going to go back. Actually, let me just mute real quick, and I'll be right back. I'm just going to get these teams working towards the next match, and then I want to show some replays from that one. That was a pretty solid brawl.